Hi, this is Ms. Hancock again, and today we're going to talk about addition of integers without using a number line, and that standard is 7.NS.1d. And what we're going to talk about today is we're going to go into some rules, and we're going to talk about rules of adding integers, and I'm going to write down a few problems, and we're going to practice those. So first we're going to look at two problems. The first one is -7 plus -4. Notice the parenthesis separates the plus sign from the negative. And we're going to look at -7 plus 4. Now, what I want to do is I want to just kind of talk about these two problems. On this first problem, you'll notice that both terms are negative. And on the second problem, one term is negative and one term is positive. And being able to recognize that is what's going to help us form our rules. -7 plus -4, they have the same signs, so I'm going to write the word same. And what happens if they have the same signs? Well, we're just going to add them. We're going to ignore the signs, and we're just going to add 7 plus 4 is 11. And then our next step would be to keep the sign. So because both of these are negative, we're going to keep a negative. So our solution, our sum of -7 plus -4 is -11. Now let's go to the second problem and let's talk about it. This is -7 plus 4, and we notice that both terms have different signs. So I'm going to use the word different. If they have different signs, what do? Well, in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to subtract. Now, I would advise you to go back and look at the videos with addition problems with number lines, because it's going to help you see it a little bit better. But we're going to subtract this, and we're going to ignore the sign, and we're just going to say 7 minus 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. Now, what do we do to figure out which sign that we keep? We're going to keep the sign, now this is important, of the largest absolute value. Now I wrote absolute value sign there so you would see that. So we're going to keep the sign of the largest absolute value. So let's go talk about which one's the largest absolute value. If I find the absolute value of -7, that's going to give me 7. The absolute value of 4 will give me 4. And which one is the largest value? Well, 7 is the largest value, so I'm going to keep the sign of the 7, which is a negative. So -7 plus 4 is -3. Now we're going to look at a few more problems on this. I'm going to erase the problems right here. We're going to keep our rules. Okay. All right, so our next problem will be -8 plus -2. Now, think about this. Both terms, we have two terms, and both of them are negative, so that means they are the same. If they are the same, what do? We add, and so 8 plus 2 is 10, and we keep the sign, which would give me -10. Let's look at another problem where we have 8 plus -2. As you're looking at the terms, 8 is positive, 2 is negative, so they're not the same, they're different, and if they're different, we're going to subtract. Remember, we're going to ignore the sign, and we're going to say 8 minus 2. 8 minus 2 is 6. Now we have to figure out which sign are we going to keep. Remember, we keep the sign with the largest absolute value. So the absolute value of 8 is 8. The absolute value of -2 is 2. Which one's the largest? 8. So we're going to keep it positive. You don't have to write a positive sign there. It's understood to be positive as long as we don't have a negative in front of it. Okay, let's look at another couple problems, and I think we'll be finished in just a moment. Okay, our next problem is 5 plus 7, and we're going to throw back to elementary here. You already know this. 5 plus 7 is 12. But let's think about, did the rule still apply? Both terms are positive. That means they have the same sign. They're positive. We added them, which we got 12, and we keep the sign. We kept the positive. So even elementary problems are going to have we're still going to follow the same rule. Okay, so let's look at this problem right here. We have -5 plus 7. As we're looking at this, we notice that the first term is negative, the second term is positive, so that means they're different signs. What we're going to do is we're going to subtract. Now, remember, we're going to ignore the sign, and it's hard to say, well, what's 5 minus 7? So let's just flip it around and do 7 minus 5. I'll just put that in my brain, 7 minus 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. And then I need to figure out which one has the largest absolute value. So the absolute value of -5 is 5. The absolute value of 7 is 7. 7 is the largest, so I'm going to keep it a positive. I hope this lesson helps you out a little bit today, and I'll see you at the next video.